By the way, if I put the screen down again, it means there's going to be a cough or a sneeze or something. So I'm just putting the screen down.
Okay, so the first item has been completed on the 1st of July. This is the terms of reference for the new committee structure, and we will be bringing that as a report further on in this meeting. The risk management workshop was held on Thursday the 5th of August last week. Very poor attendance. I don't, Madam Chair, is there anything you would like to say about the workshop?
Was that addressed to me? Sorry, Leslie.
Yes, yes. Is there anything you would like to say about the workshop?
Yeah, actually, I was just looking through some, I did hope to prepare a wee bit more before this meeting on this particular matter, but I was looking through some of the information from the Audit Office with relation to risk management and so on, and I just thought I would share this particular statement. We expect to see a formal risk management framework and register that is formally defined, widely understood, and aligned to the organisation's strategy, risk appetite, objectives, business plan, and stakeholder expectations. Now, the thing with risk appetite, as we all know, is that is something that Council as a body needs to determine, and we're not really able to achieve that if we don't have all of Council there working their way through that process.
Okay.
So, I'd welcome others' comments on that. You were at the meeting. What were did you find the workshop useful? What were your general thinking about it?
Yeah, I found the workshop really informative, and yeah, it was just a shame that other councillors couldn't attend as well, because I think as a council, like you say, we need to work as a whole when it comes to this particular, risk in particular for council. But yeah, it was a really good workshop.
Thank you. And Councillor Neal?
Yeah, likewise, I enjoyed the workshop. I thought it was good. Wasn't as boring as I thought it was going to be at all. And maybe it's something that could be brought up at the general full council meeting. So it could be put on the agenda for them.
Well, that would probably be quite a good option, because if there was even just a session specifically on determining risk appetite, because that's a fundamental premise of all decisions that flow. Yeah. Yes, if that was able to go on a full council meeting, what does your worship think about that?
I'd be quite happy to talk to the Chief Executive about that. I've got no problem with it.
Okay. That gives us a way forward of getting a traction on this particular matter, some traction. Thank you. Has anyone else got any comments they'd like to make about the workshop and developing a risk appetite and sundry related matters?
Just from a staff point of view, we've done a lot of work in the risk space going back 3 or 4 years now, and very comfortable that we've got a good way forward. I suppose we just want to leverage it so that all of council understands the work we've done, but also guide us in terms of their appetite to, particularly on large risks that we sit in a high category, to actually table those and get a feedback in terms of how we should be managing them or incorporating in future planning processes. So yes, I'll have a talk to his worship in terms of how we can manage this going forward.
Okay, thank you for that.
From my point of view, I agree. We haven't got a full adopted manual until we can actually understand the risk appetite. So we do need to actually go through that process.
Jan, could you move the microphone?
Okay, so
sorry, can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
Just regards to the workshop, just the discussion on expected costs. When things come to us with a price, with a cost, I'd like to see it as a note that was added to most of those of the potential.
Yeah, so the risk
range.
There's a risk category within the report. I believe there needs to be more work in terms of defining those risks within the risk report. So the standing item in each report to council I think needs to be fairly clear in terms of that, that topic, defining risk a lot more strategically and also very clearly.
And specific for that project.
So no, every project, every report has a risk component to it. So I think more of it needs to be done in that space.
Thank you.
It's also worth mentioning that the presenter did make a lot of very positive comments about the risk management plan and things like that. I thought it was really good. There was a lot of positive stuff there as well in terms of how we're tracking as a council.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, the next item was regarding the low percentage of unsatisfied ratepayers regarding leadership that was in the quarterly report. The action was to go away and look at the comments that ratepayers gave for those ratings, and I'm afraid we have no comments to back up the ratings, so we don't know what the actual issues were.
Well, thanks for doing that extra piece of work. And in actual fact, it's quite probable that it's just a general reflection of the situation that country, the world is in at the moment. Negativity tends to flow down and show up as grumbles, and I think we can probably remove that item now from the action list.
Okay. The next item was regarding valuations for the insurance renewals. Insurance valuations have taken place for land and buildings. Those are the only ones that we actually needed to carry out this year, and that has taken place. Not a lot of change between the valuations on the schedule.
So able to be removed off the action list then?
Yes, I think we can remove that one. Okay. And the action on the audit report regarding NZTA claims process. We have had an NZTA audit this year, and that reconciliation has now been completed, and that's an ongoing reconciliation each year. We now have a process behind that, so I think that one could come up as well.
Okay, thank you. So any comments from anyone else? Councillor Hart, Councillor Neal, etc., on the action list?
No comment from me, thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Well done on all those ones completed. It's good.
Yeah, it's just about disappeared the whole list actually. In that case, I will move that the updated action list be received. And could I have a seconder, please?
Yeah, I second.
Thank you, Councillor Hart. Now we have no presentations today, so we'll move on to the staff reports. So I'm going to put the lid down again, sorry. And we'll go back to you. Thanks, Leslie.
This report is for the committee to adopt the amended terms of reference for the Audit and Risk Committee. This report has come about because of the change in committee structure that was determined earlier this year. Council themselves have adopted the terms of reference for each committee. So it's for this committee to now review those and receive them. I'll take any questions.
No questions.
Well, I'm very happy with the additional member on the committee. I think it's going to be really great, and definitely happy to receive the report. There was one thing. When I was going through the terms of reference again, and obviously in light of the recent risk workshop and so on, thinking possibly if councillors are aligned to, I think there's more areas. I think the Audit and Risk Committee could actually contribute more to council if, again, council was in mind to make use of that. I know we don't use internal audits and so on, but yeah, I just feel there are some areas that I think we could contribute more. But obviously, Your Worship, that's something for you to reflect on along with the rest of council. But the office there, if council wishes to take it up. And the only other thing I was thinking around was with relation to external audit, and external audit have actually mentioned that they would be happy to meet with me as chair of the committee, etc. And I wondered if that's something, because obviously if they're in Wellington, I can go to Wellington, so it's not here. It's actually quite, in terms of getting to and fro, it's not particularly difficult. So again, if that's something that you think would be helpful, especially as the Audit Office at the moment are very challenged in relation to their staffing levels, then please don't hesitate to mention it, because I think that would be useful, and I'm very happy to do so. And aside from that, yeah, any thoughts on that from anybody? Your Worship, perhaps?
I'm pretty familiar with the terms that were discussed at Council, and you raised some good points, but quite happy with it.
Okie dokie. Well, in that case, I move that we receive the amended Audit and Risk Committee terms of reference. And could I have a seconder, please?
I so second.
And back to you, Leslie.
So the next report is the Audit Management Report for the Long-Term Plan Amendment. So not the long-term plan, but the amendment to the 2018-28 plan. And it was a non-qualified opinion. And I'll take any questions on that.
Anybody got any questions on what actually looked like a very good audit report, I thought?
Just
Councillor Hart?
Oh, sorry. So Leslie, this was just the one for the purchase of the Mountain Jade building. Was that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So you know that it looks really good. And I have no further questions on that.
Thank you.
Just a question, Rachel. The page 18, so you've got the table on there under misstatements. So I didn't quite understand how that table was affected by the misstatements. That didn't really matter.
Sorry, I'm not sure. So on page 18, yeah, got that.
Yeah. So it was about the misstatements.
Right. Yeah.
Can you just explain to me how that table?
It means we've classified something under a line, whereas they would see it being classified under another line, but it doesn't actually affect the overall numbers.
Okay.
So it's just classification.
So these are the numbers that they would have actually, the figures that they would have.
They themselves think they should be under another line, but it doesn't impact, it doesn't make any difference to the overall numbers.
Thank you. And page 21, the timing, so allowing timing for the publication online, allow time for the Audit Office to check. So what sort of, how much time do they need to do that?
It's just a standard statement. It's not really mean anything. We usually just, once we put it there, we just tell them and they go and look.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, any other thoughts on the audit report? In that case, do we have someone who will move that we receive the report and approve the report for the long-term plan amendment for public release? Could I have a mover for that, please?
Happy to do that.
Move it.
Thank you, Councillor Hart. And a seconder?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm just getting up, but I'll be back at a tick. Just had an intruder. Right, sorry, Leslie, back to you again on the rolling work plan.
Okay, the next item is the rolling work. I've identified under October as a note because we don't have a meeting scheduled for October. What you will see on there is that there is a delayed start to the Audit New Zealand annual report audit. It's still scheduled to be undertaken and be completed before the end of the temporary, I suppose you could call it, deadline extension to the 31st of December. We have tried to get them to move it forward so that we can get that audit completed out of the way so that we can carry on with our annual plan process, but we were unsuccessful with that. However, I have asked them if they can provide us with information requests as early as possible, then we can provide that information, and we are sticking to our own deadline, which is when we would have normally undertaken that audit. So there is that it starts, and it does go over the month end, so it can go into November as well, and hopefully completed for adoption by the end of November. Other than that, this is just a rolling work plan, so everything else is just roll forward.
With the workshop for the CCTV privacy issue, are we going to push that into November now, you think?
It's after the meeting.
Sorry, I've missed. You disappeared then. I lost you. My line isn't very good, actually. I'm getting a bit of crackle.
Yeah, it is. We are doing that workshop after the meeting today.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
My team have they've got a presentation to give to council or to the committee, and you can ask any questions on it there, and they can give you an understanding why they've done it. Okay,
thank you. Sorry about that. I didn't realise that because I hadn't. There wasn't nothing earlier. Right then, so I will move that the Audit and Risk Committee rolling work plan be received. And do I have a seconder, please?
I can second that.
Councillor Hart.
We're frozen. It's on your screen. Yeah.
Right, so if there are no other matters, I will now move that the Audit and Risk Committee move into the public excluded session, and I assume I need to zoom out and zoom in again. Would that be correct?
Administrative.
Excuse me, Chair, I don't think minutes have been received. Chair's digital signature be added to the minutes.
Oh, yep, I'll do that. Yes, I approve that my digital signature be added to the confirmed Audit and Risk Committee meeting minutes of 11th of May 2021. And we'll also need a seconder for the resolution to go into public excluded.
I can do that.
Thank you, Councillor Hart.
Before we go in, through the chair, I'd like to compliment the committee on the progress it's made in the last 12 months, and in particular the finance team for knocking over another untagged audit, which is pretty exceptional. So I think it's something that needs to be recognised. So thank you very much for that.
Yep, I would 100% support that, especially over an outstandingly difficult 12 months. And I agree, I think the reports we get from finance and the whole standard is very, very high. So thank you for mentioning that. I don't know if we formally record that in any way, but I'd certainly like those thoughts passed on to the finance team.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we have a mover. Do we have a seconder to go into public excluded?
Happy to do that.
Thank you.